Hello everyone and welcome back to another Rise of Kingdoms video. I am RoyalMixGaming and today we're going to be talking about what is the best leadership commanders that you should invest in and what is the recommended order that I would do them in. So when you're starting the game, you're going to have very limited, you're going to have a lot of options for leadership commanders, but there is a very few selection of commanders that I would recommend that you even bother with or invest actual sculptures into even late into the end game. So when you're starting the game, you're going to get Aethelflaed for free. So she is the first leadership commander that you should expertise because she is free to get. You're going to get tons of her sculptures over the course of you just playing the game in general. You should expertise her. She goes well with many different commanders. Commanders like Saladin primary and her secondary can do a pretty good job in the open field for the early game and even in Season of Conquest. Other commanders that she goes well with for Season of Conquest would be like Trajan. She can go with Constantine also for early game or end game Season of Conquest. Those are just a couple of the ones that she can go with, but she's very versatile and she applies a very good debuff to any target that she is hitting. Up to 5 of them she's hitting, and is a very powerful debuff that is really well on the field and is very felt and can very benefit your team. So this would be the first commander that you should invest into. Yes, it doesn't cost actual commander sculptures because you get them from the expedition and certain events, but I'm going to put her on the list because she is like the number one. You need to have her done because she's easy to get and do. Now, once you guys have played the game for a while, you're going to see a lot of leadership commanders like Frederick, like Mehmed, like Julius Caesar, and commanders like that. And you can see here I have actually none of them expertise, and that's very telling because I would not invest a single legendary universal commander sculpture into any one of them. But once you get into the Season of Conquest, you can get the relic for Mehmed, and I would recommend getting the relic from Mehmed as higher priority over the other commanders so that you can even use him at 5/5, 5/1, something like that, and use him as a secondary to XY, a secondary to any other skill damage kind of commander so you can get some AoE value from him. I would not use Freddy or Caesar because they don't do the same things that Mehmed does. And then another commander that we're going to go over, this is going to be going into basically the field first, and then I'm going to go into garrison. So when we're going into field for the Season of Conquest, once you've done Aethelflaed and you've got a relic for one of your other leadership commanders, Mehmed's recommended. Don't invest any universals into him, but he's good for open field if you have his relic and you have him just kind of decently, like 5/5/1/1. You can still use him. So once you have something like that done, the next commander that you're actually going to invest legendary commander sculptures into is Trajan. So you see here, I don't have him invested into him yet, but I do plan to spin his wheel very, very soon and start to use sculptures on him because he's a very good primary commander to Aethelflaed or Mulan or Joan of Arc or some of those other support commanders that you can use with him because he's going to provide a very powerful buff to your commanders and give you rage, skill damage bonus, a small damage factor, have a lot of health and defense, some extra damage increase to the target that he's hitting, which is very powerful. Up to 20% all damage increase to the target that he's hitting is pretty good. And then he's got some more extra defense, and then his expertise gives him extra skill damage buff and some extra other stuff. So this is the only commander, once you reach Season of Conquest for leadership, that I would actually invest universals into and expertise. I would say a minimum skill level for him is like 5/5/1/1, and then 5/5/1/5 would give you the most tankiness that you need. And then the third skill is utility-wise. It's very good. You obviously want it. But if you're looking for like what's the tankiest, what's going to survive the longest, then 5/5/1/5. If you want the most utility, 5/5/5/1, and then the last skill is basically a stacking defense buff. So it's good. You need it because it's going to help him be way tankier over time. But if you don't feel like you need that, then this is going to be more your utility skill with him. But yes, I would recommend you expertise him because he just gets better and better as you expertise him. He gets more buffs, he gets tankier, and he survives longer, gets better trades. Now, next commander that I'm going to say that would be for field, for leadership that you can do once you have Trajan done and you have all your other commanders done for your 5 marches, you can try and do this. Trajan definitely should be your like 4th or 5th march, not your 2nd or 3rd march that you go into Season of Conquest with. So this is more of like a backseat kind of leaderships, are kind of your last thing to do and just improve upon what you already have. They're not like first priority commanders to do. So I'm going to recommend after that Honda. Now this is a bigger spender commander. This is a commander that I would not recommend to the majority of players, but if you want basically a better Mehmed, a better Edward for your Tommy, or something like that, Honda is very tanky and he's relatively tanky because he has extra troops, and he does a large AoE, big damage factor if he's primary, and he is used by a lot of Osiris League teams and players like that want a lot of AoE and can do a lot of damage. So this is like the next commander after the other two that I've recommended, that you would go in expertise if you need a primary for Tamaris, because he's a very good primary for Tamaris, and he's also an upgrade from Mehmed to do more AoE in a wide fan-shaped area, because his AoE is like Aethelflaed's. It's big 180-degree fan, and it's really, really good if you want to use him as a secondary to like XY, as like to a Nevsky, as to like a Nebu, some other skill damage commanders, just like Mehmed. He's just a better Mehmed, and it's one that you would have to invest universals into. So that's why I'm saying that this is more of a spender's like top tier commander, but he's very good. That's why he's on the list as like the next step after you do Trajan and Aethelflaed and things like that. So that would be what I would recommend to you for those majority of players, is Aethelflaed and Trajan. And then if you're looking for like a better Mehmed with a lot of AoE and you like leadership commanders, or you need somebody for Tommy and you don't like Edward, then this is your next option. So then for leadership for Garrison, I would say that I wouldn't really do Wu anymore. She's good in the KVK 3, but after that there's just so many other commanders that do so much better than her. I really wouldn't recommend you go and expertise her unless you plan to somehow go back all the time to KVK 2 and 3. And I don't know if you probably can't use her in KVK 2, so just KVK 3. And it's a very niche thing that she's very good for. Wouldn't really recommend you expertise her. So the top tier leadership commander that I would recommend to you that for Garrison is YSS, because he goes well with very large amount of other Garrison commanders as a secondary. Can be used as primary, but mostly secondary, because he goes well with Zenobia as Zenobia primary, a Jadwiga primary, and even kind of, I don't know if it is anymore, but we have used the Mani primary and YSS secondary because it just works really well, and YSS brings a lot of stats, does a lot of damage, he has a shield, he has defense and damage bonuses, extra defense and damage bonuses, shields, attack bonuses, counterattack damage. He brings a lot of different stats to all different unit types, which is why it's really good for Garrison, because you can stick anything in and he usually is pretty well with that. And that would be the first leadership Garrison commander that I would recommend in order. After that, it would probably be Theodora, simply because she's kind of like a good pair with YSS for one, and two, she can go with Zeno and Jadwiga and some other commanders also, but not as well because she's just not as tanky, doesn't bring as much stats, doesn't do as well against other certain commanders that are now in the game as much as YSS does. So she would be like the second one on the list, and leadership for Garrison. And that's pretty much all the leadership I would really recommend to you. Like I was saying, a lot of leadership commanders like Ragnar, Charlemagne, and things like that I wouldn't bother with at all. So I would just make sure you max your Aethelflaed. You go into Trajan once you have 4 to 5 marches done already of whatever skill damage commanders you have. You want to make sure you're doing them with skill damage. So you want to have like a Guan Yu, an XY, a Nevsky, a Nebuchadnezzar, or something like that. All like 3 or 4 of those done already before you do Trajan or you do Honda or anything like that. So this is just a video telling you what are the best leadership commanders for those roles once you're at that point. So things like Hannibal, it's a spender commander. I would not invest into him. I would not buy him at this point. Trajan does a much better job. Constantine does something similar, and he's much cheaper. And he is better, in my opinion, because he's one troop type. So I would recommend just doing Aethelflaed, doing Trajan, And then if you still want more leadership, go ahead and do Honda. If you're doing garrison, do YSS, and then do whatever troop type you want, whether it's infantry, archers, or cavalry. You can do whatever you're looking into. And that is pretty much all this video is for, is just leadership commanders. What is like the top tier leadership commanders that you should be getting, what ones do you not want, and things like that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave a comment down below if you have any questions with anything. Drop a like, subscribe if you haven't already. And I hope you guys have a nice day, and I'll see you on the next one.